Hello, everyone. Welcome to All In on Real Estate. I'm your host, Aaron Goins. I started this meetup because when I was in the military, no one in my circles talked about real estate. A lot of times we talked about wealth and other finance, but enough about real estate. And I want to start a meetup where people can learn about real estate and start building generational wealth for them and their families. So I am very, very excited for our guest speaker today. I want her, because I think it'll be a little bit different, for her to introduce herself to everybody. So the floor is yours, ma'am.
Well, thank you, Aaron, for first of all having me on your meetup, just how we kind of met off of happy networking. And I wanted to talk about a topic that kind of intersects and overlaps with whether you're in real estate or you're in the middle of a career transition. So a little bit about me. I served in the military for 24 years, retired from the United States Army, and had a distinct privilege of really traveling while I was assigned in the military. So I had some great duty stations or installations where I served at, operations training, just different experiences that led and definitely honed my leadership skills to be career oriented and just drive towards excellence performance, because I saw that that was the pathway to promotion and a pathway to advancement, as well as, just making sure that when you left the military, you kind of left it better than when you came in the military, as far as monetarily wise and even with economic status. So career driven and oriented. I launched my company back in 2018. We are all things leadership training and development, XcelMil LLC. My husband and I have no children by choice. So that's just a personal choice that we made. But what we have done is give back to our communities. And we do that through several different vehicles. One, having this for-profit company allows us to take resources from it and fund nonprofits or support different organizations and causes that we believe in. So as we go through the slides tonight, you'll kind of understand where some of our drive comes from, and my drive personally comes from, and that is breaking glass ceilings. And you do that through perseverance. It's a word that it's kind of been a word that I've utilized for the last couple of years and kept before me and on my vision board. So really passionate about developing the human potential. And I believe there's greatness on the inside of every person that we come in contact. And we just have to mine and dig for that and help them to see it within themselves.
So do you want me to start with a slideshow? Get the slideshow up and running?
Just kind of want to do an intro. I want to go around the room and let everyone intro themselves. I'm an educator too, so master's in educational leadership. And so you'll see my bio here soon, a short version of it, but want to have an opportunity to meet the people in this space, because this is going to be interactive. I am not the person that just lectures. I like interaction and engagement when I'm hosting anything or facilitating a workshop. So let's go around the room and see if you would like to come off of mute and share a little bit about each of you before we get into what we're going to talk about tonight.
Mr. International, you got a minute?
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
Good, man. I see two pictures of you, man.
So my name is Lawrence Laddie, also as Mr. International here in New York City. I have some rental property here in the city, and also a contract for rental property in North Carolina.
Okay, nice.
And he has a meetup too every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Yes, I have a meetup. I'm sorry. And I meet up at 7 p.m. Thank you, Aaron.
Let's not, it's time to be bold and brazen. We're going to talk about, you're right into my topic about being fiercely consistent, but that's also requires a little bit of brazenness for us to let people know where we are and how they can find us. So anyone else wants to come off of mute and share? If not, let's get started. We're going to be talking about fiercely consistent. This topic came about just through me being passionate about what's going on. Let's get a finger and pulse of what's going on in the industry, what's going on with other professionals, whether you're a real estate agent or you have your own business, or you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, or you're actually in industry working in the private sector on a, different jobs or what have you. What's important is that we remain fiercely consistent in whatever career endeavor that we're going to pursue. It's about being committed to what your dream and your goal is for your life. And I'm an executive coach, leader developer, but we want to talk about being consistent because there's this new phenomena. So that's just a little bit about me, certified John Maxwell trainer, consultant for-profit and nonprofit organizations. I'm on the board of directors for a recidivism program, as you could see, and I previously did hold a top secret clearance with the SCI. So when I say that I've already achieved a measure of success, some people are like, well, you're already successful. Yes, but this is the next chapter. So I get to write what this next chapter looks like, or shall I say, we get to write what our next chapter looks like. And so though I have achieved a measure of success and been the first to graduate with a master's degree in my family, the first to retire from the military. So there are a lot of firsts and glass ceilings that I've broken, but there's more to come. And so more to follow. Next slide.
And her name is Miss Melody Gratic too, just to let everybody know. You haven't said your name yet.
Oh, Miss Melody Gratic is on the screen. Yeah, Melody, and I am. So let's go with the next slide.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, please put it in the chat, comment, or come off of mute and share. I love exotic travels. I love going down to different exotic places where there are beautiful beaches, beautiful sands. St. Virgin Islands. We've been to Mexico. I've had the privilege of going to Africa because my husband's, one of his sisters is over in Africa. So we get to travel over there. So pretty much traveled to some really unique places around the world, and Guam, Hawaii, all of those great dream vacation spots for some people. So, but I want to know from you guys, from everyone that's on here, what is your dream vacation? You can just drop it in the chat, comment, what is your dream vacation? Have you taken it? Is it in your plans? What's your dream vacation? And then what is a favorite weekend getaway? Some people don't necessarily like going outside of the United States of America. Some people prefer going here within the United States. Aruba, definitely, Dominican Republic, Punta Cana. So those are some really great places to go to too as well. But favorite weekend getaways and dream vacations. I see one comment from Lawrence as Aruba being one. I've been there. It's just breathtaking, to say the least. It is breathtaking. It's one of those places where it's like, could you stay there 3 or 4 months out of the year and then come back to America? I enjoy traveling because it breaks up the monotony of the normal, and it's definitely a reset, recalibration, refresh for us that's in business or working on different jobs. It allows us to relax, hit that reset button, recharge, and it's a lot of new and fresh ideas come from when we actually travel and just take a weekend to just do whatever it is that's fun for us. And we get to identify it, and we get to actually, whatever that thing is, hobby, interest, special project, vacation spot, national park, whatever that weekend getaway is, whether it be hiking, zip lining, recreational activities, whatever that weekend excursion or getaway, it does allow us as professionals to de-stress and just focus again and come back with, just a fire and an energy towards what our goals and objectives are that we've set for ourselves and our companies and our organizations or teams. Next.
Okay.
Okay. Continue to keep hitting the enter button, Aaron, for this one. I want to ask that you can give me reactions according on the Zoom. Are you familiar with the phrase quiet quitting? How many of you, by show of hands or reactions, are familiar with the phrase quiet quitting? And you can also comment in the chat box. But it is not, it appears as a new phenomenon. However, research shows over 42 million results with just a casual search out on Google shows that this there's articles, blogs, different journals, periodicals, what have you. People are talking about this on YouTube, TikTok. And it's not something that, we had the Great Resignation a few years ago, still kind of in that because, since COVID, so many millions of people have left the workforce. And what's happening with quiet quitting is people are saying, they want something different coming since COVID. The Generation Y, Z, millennials, and different people are now having a shifting perspective about work. And so what's happening is people, they want something different. You can go back to that slide, Aaron, that would be helpful. Because we want to talk about why people are quiet quitting and how does that resonate with, or what's the relationship between quiet quitting and being fiercely consistent, so that we don't get caught up in, some people are saying, nope, I'm not going to work a full 9 to 5 anymore. And they're doing it for various reasons. Some are opting for a more healthy work-life balance. Some are opting to say, I'm going to do what's within my roles and descriptions. I'm going to do the task assigned to me per my job description, but nothing more, because they're taking their life back, which is, I was talking with someone earlier and they were saying they want more than just the 3 hours at night when 4 o'clock ends or 5 o'clock ends. They want more than that so that they can, again, give themselves towards their passion projects. So there are a number of reasons why some people are quiet quitting or resigning from the workforce, if you will. But an article by CNBC, when you look online, says people are actually establishing and setting boundaries for themselves so that they can have more time for what matters to them. Then others assert that it is an impact or residual impact of COVID-19 and the Great Resignation. So people are now taking back that power. Instead of being disempowered, they're empowering themselves to do something different besides the traditional 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 7 to 3, 6 to 2 work schedule. They're opting for more flexible work hours so that they can give their time, energy, and effort to their passion projects or their hobbies or special interests. And so as you can see in the third bullet there, it is a direct request according to one person. It's not a request, it's a demand for the traditional way that we've always worked to change. For us to have a different philosophy, a different way that we're actually working, in a manner in how we're working, because people now are working from all over the world. It's a global workforce, it's dispersed. People are, they're in other countries and still performing their jobs and being equally as productive as when they're in the office. So people are quietly quitting, even though they still may maintain a job. They're not going above and beyond and over. So how this ties into what we're going to be talking about tonight about being fiercely consistent is what we give our time, energy, and focus to when it's our pet project, passion project, special interests, and or businesses or enterprises that we may manage or serve in. Next slide. And if you have any questions at any point or time, please feel free to ask. Again, I love interaction during our workshops. And Aaron, you can continue to hit return, and some of those other bullets are going to come up for whatever reason it's appearing like this. But why is quiet quitting relevant to our discussion tonight about being fiercely consistent? We want to focus on being fiercely consistent because in my initial call with Aaron, I realized that, yes, I'll have some real estate agents on here. I may have brokers on here, but people that are invested in building wealth for their family, to leave a legacy, to establish the legacy, to establish an inheritance for their children, siblings, and or relatives. So being fiercely consistent is a resolve really to not quit on our dreams, a resolve to succeed, a resolve to break the status quo. And so we're going to be talking about more about fiercely consistent, but these are some terms, if you can dial back and reflect back on 2020 and since 2020, these are some terms that you saw in the news or out online or heard on YouTube or whichever social media channel that you really listen in on. You actually kind of saw these terms, even on news broadcasts, repeated over and over again. Emerge stronger, unprecedented times. People now are more focused because they had a break from the grind, if you will. They've established a healthier work-life balance where they're taking better care of themselves. So there's the wellness, there's the self-care that people are giving their time, energy, and efforts to. And especially as business owners, one of the things that we as coaches concentrate and focus on when we're coaching a leader, a client, a business owner is where, again, asking those provocative, thought-provoking questions that can elicit where's the work-life balance? And are we placing parameters around making sure that we have time for ourselves to be better leaders, to be present, and while we are engaging with a client or someone that we may be establishing a partnership or relationship with, even if it's on the investing side of real estate. Do we have that so that we could be cognitively strong and attentive when we're having these different conversations? Goal setting. Now that may be basic for some of us, to talk about goal setting and SMART goals, specific, measurable, time bound, realistic, So when we talk about SMART goals, we've been through those SMART goals classes, but with fiercely consistent, we as business owners and leaders have to constantly and consistently establish those goals, look at our objectives, revisit them throughout the year, just like there are 4 quarters in a year, just really looking back at how close are we to, actually attaining those goals? Are we meeting those milestones? Are we being, is something being deferred or postponed? Is there procrastination? What are some of the delays and why? So being fiscally consistent is having a actual, a streamlined focus and a laser focus on what's priority. And so priority reevaluation, if you will, took place during COVID. It gave all of us an opportunity to reevaluate what's priority and important to us as leaders of teams. Even if you're a solopreneur, we have a class that we built on self-leadership. Even if you don't have like a full team of people, self-leadership is critical. Before you have to lead yourself before you can lead anyone else. The next thing that was established is establishing non-negotiables. Those non-negotiables are things that you're not, as a business owner or a leader, willing to compromise. Meaning I'm uncompromising. I will not compromise on this particular issue, this particular objective that I've set for myself and my team. So those are non-negotiables. And so again, within this 2-year period, something out of this crisis came. People's, they really reassessed and began to say, you know what, life is precious. I don't necessarily say life is short, but life is so fragile and life is so precious. What they're looking at now is pursuing their dreams, investing in themselves, opposed to investing in a company for 20, 30 or however many years, and you still may not get a retirement, except you actually set aside money in your 401k. So what people are now doing is investing in their dreams, investing in themselves. And in that way, they're controlling what happens in the future with them. So they're navigating life and all of these different pathways very, very differently, but they're doing it strategically. And they're doing it intentionally. So there was a shift in perspectives from pre-COVID, during COVID, and now we're still kind of in COVID, even though we say post-COVID, but there's a shift in perspective of what's priority and what's important, especially when it pertains to how we're going to create and generate wealth within our communities. Next slide. So the definition of consistent: it is living or acting in conformity with one's beliefs or professions, or possessing a firmness or a fixedness, meaning that you're resolute about what you set as a goal, short-term or long-term, 1 year or 5 years down the road or beyond, that you're resolute and you're uncompromising, and you're not going to be deterred or detracted or distracted away from the objective that you set for yourself, your business, how much you want to earn, how much real estate you might want to acquire or sell or renovate and flip. So there are so many different variables but the one thing that's consistent about consistency is consistency ends in results. So consistency ends in results because there is those small disciplines that lead to tangible, there's both intangible benefits of being consistent, and there's also going to be tangible results from being consistent. We add the word fiercely because as business owners, real estate agents, professionals, veterans, and leaders, we have made and chosen to make an agreement with ourselves and others to not quit. That we have somebody within our circle, and I call them concentric circles, but our circle, especially our inner circle, that's holding us accountable. We're accountable to ourselves, but we also have found someone within our circle to hold us accountable to continue to finish the course that we've set aside for ourselves. Meaning that I'm going to go about this with a fierceness, with an aggression towards achieving my objectives, my goals, my aspirations and desires. And so whatever career path, for any of you that are on here, whatever career path or industry you're in, it's to have a fierce resolve. That's a firm, fixed belief in your abilities and making those right connections, really jumping and leaping out of our comfort zones so that we have that resolve to win. Next slide. Fiercely consistent is an extreme intensity of emotions or conviction. So if we're committed, no one else may believe in our dream. We may have a lot of skeptics. We may have people that are opposing us from succeeding. But the one thing about being fiercely consistent is that we're like those, when we're watching the Kentucky Derby or those horse races, they have blinders on for a reason. They're not paying attention to the horses to the left or right. They're running their race and they're not distracted by what's on their left or their right, or what we say in the military, they're peripheral. They know that they're there, but they're laser focused, right, on their race, their lane that they're in. And so it's an extreme intensity of emotions. And we wake up every morning passionate about pursuing our dream. Our dream is why we get up every day. Our dream is why we wake up and continue to do what we do, late hours, early hours, odd hours. It drives us, it compels us to continue regardless of the economic upheaval or what's happening geopolitically or whatever. We're so focused on what our objectives and goals and dreams that we're going to be, we commit to being fiercely consistent about what we set aside, that this is what I want to accomplish. So it is an earnest desire to succeed. So let's put it this way, an earnest desire to succeed, meaning that we're not going to allow anything or anyone or the skeptics to stop us. It is intense dedication. And whether you were in the military or not in the military, there is something that I've heard from a mentor, a leader, called the University of Life. So throughout life's experiences, whether you were in the military or not, there's some challenges, issues, or situations that you encountered where now there's this intense dedication towards completion, towards finishing something and doing it well. So fierceness also can mean being undeterred, and it can also be relentless, meaning that you go after it with, you go after it so strongly that it's like you're just watching that person. And as people watch you, what they begin to recognize is a consistency in your discipline. And not too many people use the word discipline anymore, but this type of discipline is a determination, and it seems like you're doing the same thing over and over again. But even while you're doing it, there's those daily habits that actually shape your success. They're a catalyst to your success, is those daily disciplines. And most times we're listening to podcasts, we're looking at leadership books, we're attending different leadership or business conferences, because we're sharpening our tools and we're adding to our professional toolbox through dedication, effort. It's called an investment in your own personal and professional development when you attend different conferences and events. Being on here on a meetup, whether you're West Coast or East Coast, tuning in and plugging into these different events to what sharpen our tools, put something away in our business or leadership toolbox that we can utilize, because as we grow, so do our organizations, so do our teams, so do our companies, and other people are watching, and it can really be a change for the entire family or community that we live in, as we are able to invest back in those communities throughout because of our success that we begin to experience. Next slide. So I want to talk about a basic life lesson about consistency. Does everyone remember, by show of hands or emojicons, the fable of the tortoise and the hare? And you can go ahead and go to the next slide, Erin. Nicole has her hand up. So the tortoise and the hare. There are some leadership lessons from the tortoise and the hare. There are some business lessons from the tortoise and the hare. There's some basic life principles that we can get from that particular fable. And I thought it was interesting when I saw this article that actually highlighted this as a lesson within leadership, but it's also a life lesson about consistency. And as you can see with the tortoise and the hare, of course, the hare is just running off, takes the lead, he's out front, or the hare is out front, and he becomes so confident and he's going to win that he stops to take a nap. So the tortoise and the hare. So we have other people that may have launched businesses after us, before us. They may have started college before us or after us, whatever the endeavor. But if we pay attention to their lane, their race, it causes us to derail or veer off, right? So we might slightly veer to the right, like when our cars need alignment, sometimes they will gradually maneuver to the left or right when you take your hands off the wheel. But unlike the hare, the tortoise just kept inching along. He put in steady, consistent work. You wouldn't even think that he would catch up and outpace and then win the race. And that's through focused attention. It's through a consistency, though slow but steady, slow but consistent. It may not seem like it could be incremental success or incremental milestones that we achieve along the path to success. However incremental or however gradual, nonetheless, you're still moving, even if you're moving at a slower pace than some people that may be just, it seems like when you're looking at their social media channels, whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, or any of those channels, it may look like they're achieving great success. But we all know those are highlight reels. And some of it may be true, but it may be just segments and pockets of when they actually achieved, a great notable thing that they wanted to highlight on the social media channels. But if we so focus in on what somebody else is doing, the race that they're running, the pace that they may be achieving success, and it may seem like it's happening overnight for them. However, if we stay consistent with running our race like the tortoise, he ended up winning because he stayed consistent. So that fierceness and that consistency is a resolve to say he didn't stop, even though the hare may have been way ahead of him. He still stayed in the race. Seemed like he might have wanted to stop, give up. Hey, you know what? What's the point of continuing? He's already ahead. But the tortoise kept going. So no matter what our endeavor, business, or goal or objective that we have, there's the principle that I want to get across tonight so that we all walk away with some type of nugget or takeaway that you'll be able to take away with you, is that fierce consistency for your race, for what you define success as. What does success look like for each of you that are on here? It may look completely or radically different than someone else's success. It does not mean you're not successful. You're successful based off of what you define as success for you and your household, your family, your business, your team. Next slide. Are there any questions? Fred, I see your hand up. Do you have a question or comment? You've had it up, and so I just want to make sure I don't overlook any questions. And if not, we'll keep going. Well, I know that we have questions at the end, so let's just keep going. So the value of consistency equals success. So if you're taking notes or you just want to just make a mental note of this, the value of being consistent, or let's just say consistently or fiercely consistent. So I will say the value of being fiercely consistent will equal and yield success for you. So the success that will come as a result of being fiercely consistent is that you have deliberate, intentional effort towards whatever goals, objectives that you set for yourself, your team, your business, your organization. So that deliberate, intentional effort will pay off in the end. So ultimately, regardless of how it may look or appear on the surface or whatever, deliberate, intentional effort applied over time will equal success for all of us. Consciously committed to one's goals. So a part of being fiercely consistent is a conscious commitment. Everyone's talking about being emotionally intelligent, being aware, so that there's that awareness that I am making a conscious decision to commit to the goals I set for myself, my team, my organization, my family, whatever that looks like for you, that you consciously commit to it. So it's the deliberate, active. So instead of being passive, you're actively engaged in your success, your wealth building, your legacy that you want to set for you and your family. It is to engender strong personal and professional connections. So part of having consistency equaling success is that you foster and develop strong personal and professional relationships. The value of that, I'll tell you a personal story. I met a young, beautiful, brilliant woman 4 years ago. And there's several of them. And it's just so happened through networking, and it's the power of networking. It's a testimonial, is that through those different engagements at leadership conference, business conferences, it yielded contracts. So just through, being consistent, diligent, driving more than 50 miles sometimes to go to these different events, that development of those relationships, nurturing those relationships since the time that we met 4 years ago has led to, hey, I need you to help with this particular, I think you're the right person for this particular opportunity. So that consistency that we do, whether it's, not in person or virtual, that time that we're spending and effort we're spending in networking, connecting, going to breakfasts and evening socials and weekend events, all of that pays dividends because people will remember you and reach out to you for support at that opportune time. So that's very important for our success, is that we cultivate strong professional and personal connections. Acknowledge, recognize, and reward others, self, and stakeholders or customers or clients. So acknowledgement, recognition, most people that's on this planet want to be respected, valued, and heard. In the D&I space, that's what we talk about. So if everyone is that something, we already know that's what people desire, is to be heard, respected, and valued. And as leaders of teams or leaders of ourselves or organizations, it's important that we keep that top of mind for acknowledging, recognizing, and reward. And so when we meet these objectives, milestones, these successes that we experience, whether big, large, or small, the good thing about it is that we get to reward ourselves, to treat ourselves when we attain a level of success. But at the same time, we get to also acknowledge those that were part of our support team, our mentors, our sponsors, our allies. We want to also acknowledge that, we didn't get here by ourselves. It took effort by others to get our name out there, to help promote us, to share, like when we hit like and share. So when we're saying all of that, and in these different groups that we're a part of, acknowledge the people that helped you along the way, because they will remember that, they will remember you, and it's a really display or demonstration of humility and appreciation and gratitude for the people that actually help us as we are navigating building wealth for our families, our communities, to be able to give back and to support and help. Next slide. There are some consistency quotes that should be coming up on the screen. I know that we have a few, about 20 more minutes, so I want the consistency quotes, as Aaron brings them up, are from different leaders and just different people that you will recognize as those quotes come up. Aaron, next slide. Okay, some of the quotes for consistency are, and I love the ones that are listed here, so I chose these specifically because Tom Landry said, the secret to winning is constant, consistent management. And again, with self-leadership, you first have to manage yourself before you can manage an entire team, organization, or others. But the secret to winning is that constant, consistent management. Managing people, processes, systems. So all of those things are included within management. Khalid Imran said, when people see commitments are met with consistency, they tend to develop trust. Trust is the key to persuasion. So when we have trust in relationships, whether it be a partnership, a business endeavor, any type of relationship, the foundation of relationships is trust. When you have trust, people will go to great lengths to support and invest in some of your dreams or projects or enterprises when there's trust there. And you can actually persuade people with trust as you build relationships and nurture that relationship. Those barriers and defenses is not that you're trying to manipulate people, but people want to see authenticity. And that's something that you hear, authentic leadership. So authenticity in our relationships so that trust is established. Kenny Dassinger, being persistent may lead you to the door, but consistency is the key that unlocks it. We may get no's, or defer, like people will defer to another time, or delay and say, hey, not now, but check back with me in 6 months, or check back with me in 7 months. But being persistent that consistency unlocks the door. So it is a consistent effort to just, I'm going to revisit this particular conversation at another time. I'm going to remember you. Is it okay that I check back with you? When can I get back with you? Is that a fair thing that I can get back with you at another date and time? Marco Silva says, you cannot be a winner without maturity and consistency. And when we talk about maturity, we're talking about emotional intelligence. We're talking about being emotionally mature to be able to handle. Literally, we read the horror stories and heard the horror stories of people that have won millions of dollars in the lottery. In a few years, it's gone. And so it behooves us, we have to take responsibility. You cannot be a winner without maturity and consistency. So that maturity says, I can handle the wealth. Some people can handle 6 figures. Some people can handle 7. Some people can handle 8 or beyond 8. But here's the thing about it. Winning without maturity. You cannot be a winner without maturity and consistency. So they go together, because if you're immature and inconsistent, you're not going to be in the winning circle or achieve success. So it's good for us to put, again, that away in our toolbox to say, I'm a winner. I'm also emotionally mature to handle the no's, to handle what may appear or seem as a rejection or a denial, or, hey, no, not now. I have to be able to be emotionally intelligent and mature to still engage and have a conversation with this individual. John Maxwell says, small disciplines repeated with consistency every day lead to great achievements gained slowly over time. So there we see that word slowly again, just like the tortoise. So slowly over time, and we understand most of you may recognize the name John Maxwell and Tom Landry, but small disciplines. And we talked about discipline, and I mentioned it a few slides ago. That discipline is that your head is down, you're working, in your office, at home, or in your office space, whatever those daily disciplines are will lead to great achievements. And then you let people know about those achievements, let people know about those successes, no matter how small, or even if it's incremental growth, it's still growth. If it's expansion, it's still expansion. So consistency quotes, these quotes are there to reinforce why it's important that we stay fiercely consistent and committed to what we say we want to achieve, to attain and cultivate generational wealth for ourselves, our family, our communities. And with that being said, I think we're up on the last slide. I want to look over some comments in the chat as we now open up for Q&A before we have to close out. I think, how much longer do we have, Aaron? I don't want to.
It's up to you. So, hey, we're good.
Okay, great. So I'll read over some of the comments. Lawrence, do you care to come off of mute, excuse me, and share? It says, as you know, who you associate with is who you become. You have to invest in yourself. Join me, Mr. International, at the Mastermind Dinner in DC, September 24th. Okay, who the co-founder is. I'll have to save the chat. Okay. Next comment is by Desmond. Desmond, you say, you're an investor in Virginia Beach area, putting together partnerships to purchase multifamily commercial properties. Oh, nice. I must have my husband reach out to you. We've done some in flips. As a matter of fact, he's meeting with some of his partners Saturday morning, and we did one up in Philly and another one here, I want to say in the Maryland area. And so he has a contractor friend that we work with from time to time. And it's been slow, it's been gradual, but trying to find the right people before we just take our money and invest it, because a lot of people have great ideas. And then at the same time, you have to have that, again, that trust factor is huge before investing into, when it's a combined group coming in and investing together to really develop different, whether it be multi-dwellings or apartment complexes or anything like that, or subdivisions. So I do understand that, but I had to put him in touch with you. Let's save the chat. Nicole. So Nicole had to drop off. So that was Nicole. So I want to hear from you guys, from everyone on here. So no, it's mostly you here to see what are your thoughts, takeaways, anything that you care to share. You are in real estate or you are in investing. What about some of those particular areas that we talked about tonight, fiercely consistent, resonates with any of you?
Well, I'll start off. Hold on. I got you, Lauren. I'll start off. That resonates a lot with me because consistency is always is a problem at times for me. Just staying on target and moving forward. So that really resonates with me about, you hear it all the time, but and it's simple, but it's hard at the same time. And I think that what you guys do is very valuable because of it. I mean, it might be easy to be consistent, but it's still hard because distractions happen, things like this happen, life happens, but the successful people keep on going and are resilient. Some people just give up when times get hard. And then it's like kind of like that acronym you see, like the person like mining. One person is mining and they finally found the diamonds. That person kind of gives up and the diamonds is right next to it, so it really resonates with me. So I love it. I love the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Consistency, mining for gold, mining for something valuable and the treasure requires, when you look at the architects and you look at people that go into the mines, and these people are dedicated to doing that for years, to unearth and discover so many different riches and minerals and artifacts and historical items that it takes a level of diligence. And yes, it's probably how they're hardwired as far as their passion, but there are a lot of different life lessons, as I say, and principles that we can actually extract or pay attention to from other industries or people in different industries. Like that would probably seem boring for some, but there is something to be learned from just watching that. Even when I watch sports, not that I watch sports a lot, but there is a dedication and a commitment to being an athlete, no matter what type of athlete you are. There's that training and, up in the morning and lifting weights and running and, the conditioning that they go through to actually either be in the Olympics or actually drafted into the NFL, NBA, or soccer, or any of these different sports. There is a dedication and commitment to it that just is a resolve and a firm, fixed focus and belief. Lawrence, I see that you're off mute. Lawrence,
I like the presentation. There's a great presentation, but you talk about consistency. Aaron talked about, I'm consistent in some things, and some things I'm not consistent with. So that resonated with me a whole lot. I'm going to be working on I'm working right now. The next almost 22 days left. 20 will end my 3 months that I've pledged to become much better in managing myself. That's why I'd be consistent in managing myself more than anything else. I retired, and time can get away from you real easy real fast. If you imagine yourself. Because I read this book, the guy says this thing is managing time. You got to manage yourself. And that's what I'm working on, managing myself. But there's a few things I've been consistent in, and they paid big dividends. And there's things I'm not consistent in, which I'll need to be consistent, be more consistent, so therefore I can pay bigger dividends.
Reap the dividends from your consistency. We actually have a tool, and I'm going to go out to our website. We actually have it's an ebook, but it's really it's easy. It's self-leadership, and it's downloadable, and you actually can take it and fill it out. Where it's a resource, and with this resource, you actually get to go in and fill in. I'm going to drop it in the chat as it comes up. It's a link, and hopefully you should be able to download it. If you cannot download it, please fill out our contact information and we'll get in touch with you. So I'm going to actually add our email contact into the email, even though it's on the last slide, the very final slide, how you can get in touch with us. And this is a tool, again, a tool and resource that we offer with the self-leadership workshop and class, to where it is back to the basics with, SMART goal planning and, really, we know to write stuff down. Now we got electronics where we can actually type stuff or, put stuff on the computer, or a task list, a checklist, of what we're gonna, what's priority, like from 1 to 10, and list those things. But we do coaching as well to coach leaders, because sometimes having a neutral person coaching you, because we always say every coach needs a coach, but our coaching sessions are geared to unpack and uncover, to evoke awareness, to where we're just your accountability partner, your thinking partner, when it comes to what you say you would like to accomplish. And sometimes that helps for people to get to that next level in their performance and their leadership, or their business, if you will. Desmond, up next.
Yes, thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you, Aaron. One of the things I was listening to was the consistency part, and also with the tortoise and the hare, and the mining that Aaron was talking about. And when you think of mining, it seems like, okay, well, you just dig. And then when you get to the hard part, you also have to figure out different tactics to get around and make things better or easier to get to whatever goal it is. And one of the things is sometimes physically, like you said, you might get burnt out, what Lawrence was saying. You might be good at one thing, but the consistent part also could be learning as well, and coming to these meetups consistently, hearing different people. And sometimes it helps me, because I might not be inspired that moment, but then I'll listen. I know I have a meeting or two this week I'm always going to be consistently listening to. And so that keeps me growing and learning as well, because physically sometimes we're not able to. I know this year has been troubling for some people, because they're looking at the interest rates, and some people get worried. This is a challenge for us to figure out how we still going to get what we have to get to, whether it's tweaking the numbers, whether it's reaching out more to owners, the dealers, and figuring out a way to still accomplish our goals together. And so that's one of the things I'm trying to be going to be more consistent at, is continuing to network, build, and also learn.
Well, thank you for sharing, Desmond. And you, one of the things is, we always, closing out a coaching session, tend to ask, what's your commitment for today? And you really just kind of articulated what you're going to commit to. And so I appreciate that, because through listening and self-development and investing in, and then like reflecting, taking that moment to reflect, like what you were just sharing, and what I heard you say was that there's another perspective or angle that I can come and approach trying to, again, with interest rate up and the economy in an upheaval, it has slightly impacted the mortgage industry in a different way. I did the mobile notary stuff for a while. I saw some elements of what goes into getting someone to get the keys to their new home, or refinance it, or do some renovations and improvements. So that was a nice time to kind of see what the industry experiences on one level and aspect, but on another level, when it's your bread and your butter, it's what you do for a living, it's how you put food on the table for your household. I can only imagine and empathize with what you are experiencing now with the high interest rate and people resigning from the workforce. And now we just have, again, we have all these geopolitical issues. So there's a lot of external, if you say, they call them barriers, but there are external factors or variables as to why some people may or may not be or are hesitating to purchase right now. And so those are ways, I mean, you're kind of having to develop new strategies and ways to navigate closing the sale, if you will. And so continue to network. You already kind of said you were going to do that. I just find it very interesting with the era that we're in. I do see in our area, which I kind of enjoy in some communities, how people are living together now. You see you see all generations living in the same house now. The adult children from college have moved back home and taking up the basement. And so now it's, when you look back more than 30 years ago, 40 years, that's how some people live. And it seems like it's it's really like there's nothing new that is going back to people actually living all together again to just navigate these economic times. Anyone else? Fred, you had your hand up early. I'm not sure if you're in a place where you could share or speak, but thank you for sharing, Desmond.
Thank you.
So thank you for the presentation and kind of walking us through that. That was insightful. No, I think my hands are probably up for one of the questions, but I think one thing that resonated. So I still have a W-2 while I'm juggling real estate and short-term rentals on the side. And I guess the quiet quitting, I was trying to process that. It was I do see how they're reducing. I think before this, everyone was sort of used to overworking. And 50 hours was like a normal thing. Everyone putting their head down and doing it for the company to make sure we can hit our numbers. Everyone was willing to put that time in, and I think probably after COVID, a lot of folks are realizing that they need to step back to normal hours, and then take advantage of having their family around and other things. So I definitely understood that. The quitting part, I guess that's one thing. I was like, wait, are people eventually leaving, or are they just sticking back to the 40 hours? So I was walking, so I might have missed some of that. Are they actually quitting, or just scaling back to the 40 that they committed to?
It's a combination of both. Some people are, outright resigning. Others are, again, pushing back on the 40 hours and going above and beyond. It's almost like I'm taking my life back, if you will. And if it's only going to be a marginal or negligible pay increase, then they're not putting the effort in anymore. So it's like, sometimes, to be a team player, you go above and beyond and you do extra, you take on and you volunteer for different projects and stretch assignments. And whereas now people are opting to say, I'm committing to this and no more. So it's both a combination of both.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing with my team. I'm letting them know this is what because actually some of them are actually having medical issues for overworking, right? Someone got shingles and it's like a chronic issue, and they're forced now. They're now medically forced to slow down. So it's I appreciate that. It hits home as I'm kind of working through this with them. But thanks for sharing all of that.
And just because some of us are still like, as consultants, we go in and assess different organizations. And one of the things we are recognizing is that, you have many of our generations taking, now stepped up to take care of their aging parents. So there are so many different dynamics associated with why there is a pushback to a level of normalcy and regular hours. Just not above and beyond the 40. Aging parents, people are now, caregivers. Some people have assumed responsibility for their siblings' children because of, their parents expired, passed away during COVID. And so now the siblings are now the parents, if you will, or surrogate parents. So auntie and uncle now has kind of become the surrogate parent. So there are different reasons.
Yeah, I got all of that. In the team is, aging parents are taken care of, and kids, and people pass. So yeah, it's with the team is always a mix of everything. So always top of mind.
Okay, and it's for us as leaders, it's important to know some of these different dynamics because, again, we're just better able to navigate how we lead, how we support, how we show empathy to our peers, and again, those strengthening our relationships. Marcus or Jordan, would you like to chime in or share? If they're not unable to share,
I have one more thing to say.
Sure thing, Desmond.
When you was talking about the pandemic and staying home and coming back home, there's a lot of things that have developed out of it when people realize they can work from home and do different tasks or jobs, bringing in more income. And now that people move back in, the mindset doesn't realize sometimes that when that extra person comes back home, that's added income to that household if they're working still. And it seems like the businesses know that because they send you more mail to the house. They look at the totality, and we don't look at it as much. And I had to tell my wife, my daughter that. I said, you realize they know how much income is coming into this house. And so sometimes if you shift your mind, you can try to accumulate more because your household income is more. But we don't look at it as a group sometimes. Sometimes we still look at it as individuals. I see more people renting out their bedrooms. There's older people that's been renting out their bedrooms in my neighborhood, and the cost of rent so high that the bedrooms are actually making the money while they're staying home. So it's been a change in a lot of different industries. I've noticed that even like the Uber drivers, that was something that took on another life. And you have people doing deliveries more. So it's different companies doing different things, real estate as well. So it's interesting times, I will say. But the income, people are starting to do multiple streams of income at home, on their computers in different ways, I've noticed.
The computer has become a not just a device to surf or just to be out there surfing on the web. You actually can mine, as we said earlier, you can mine for different innovative opportunities that have lent itself to people who can sit behind a computer and earn 6 figures or more, another stream of income. And you're absolutely right. I was watching YouTube one night, and it was so interesting to see how people are actually renting their pools out to the community, and they're making so incredibly much money, just renting out the usage of their pool for like pool parties and just having people come over. But it's like an Airbnb, like you can rent their pool, and they're making quite significant amount of money doing it. So there's just these things have evolved into what I say non-traditional, unconventional paths for income. And so it's kind of a unique time right now, and a special time. Marcus, I see that you're off of mute. Would you like to share anything?
No, I just wanted to tell you thank you. A lot of great advice. And no, that was pretty much it. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for adding your comments and your feedback. I appreciate it. Jordan.
Yeah, I was actually getting ready to say, piggyback on that, and again, thank you for your presentation. I am within the midst of the millennial generation, and so from my perspective, a lot of people who are in my age range, especially younger, really have grown up in the age of the internet. So you said that it was unique or less conventional. And I feel like that is becoming something that is more of the normal for the younger generations. And especially as we're proceeding forward into the future, we're actually going to be seeing much more of that. And also with the notion of seeing how much, our parents and predecessors committed to jobs for decades and 40 years and retired, after working 20 or 30 years at a job and, receiving a pen and maybe a pension, potentially if they even were that lucky. So the consideration on like work-life balance or just enjoying life as a whole, especially because right now it is relatively unaffordable. You see them acquiescing and saying, hey, maybe college might not have been the best deal and maybe we should do something about forgiveness. Maybe we should try to figure out what we can do about the real estate market because, millennials and subsequent generations find it unaffordable or not purchasing homes. So like you said, all the number of factors that are adding up, all the ones I see, plus ones that I'm probably a little bit more in tune with, I definitely can relate to 100%.
Thank you, Jordan. I really appreciate that because when I do talk about generations in the workforce and especially the millennials, Generation Y, Generation Z, it is a different experience. Though they are, like you say, they grew up where technology was at their fingertips and and they're very technically savvy. And then now you're talking about the metaverse and AI and robotics and everything like that. So forward thinking, future focus, definitely, while at the same time, they're challenging conventional thought. They're challenging traditional philosophies, like they're asking the hard questions. Why? Explain it to me. Let's unpack this, So those are the generation of individuals that's really, like holding people to the line, like why? They're staying at jobs, 2 to 3 years, and then they move on to gain experience at another job. They want the flexibility with work hours. They don't want just a strict, rigid, this is the way it is. You're going to have to explain a little bit further beyond just the black and white that's within policy with the millennials, Generation Y and Z. And so they see things from an entirely different perspective than we did growing up, when it was admirable and honorable to be contributing to society, working and, aging graciously, as I say, and earning that retirement check. But they also want to enjoy life before, if a business closes down, and so many people within our generation as baby boomers, if not, I'm not a baby boomer, I'm an actual Generation Xer. We saw where the plants and the factories left America. So there were different dynamics taking place when we were growing up as well, with, parents working, challenged by working in plants and factories, and then the factories pull out of the small rural areas and they have to start all over again when it comes to their tenure at a place. So it's so many different variables and dynamics to for us as a community attaining wealth within our generation and to really leave a legacy and an impact. Ms. Brown, thank you for joining us. We are just kind of doing Q&A and some conversations surrounding the presentation, but I'll let Aaron chime in since he's the leader of this meetup.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Melanie, for a great presentation. everything you shared on here. And I know that this will go on a YouTube page tonight. I think this needs to be looked at many times, and I definitely think we're going to have a conversation, me and you, because I definitely, my whole thing is you shouldn't let obstacles get in your way to your success, because then you're going to have that regret down the road. And, you know, you need to stay focused, because the devil is going to throw a lot of the things at you, and you have to be resilient and prepared for these things, because it's not going to be a straight line. Success is not a straight line. It never is. And you know, I think that people have to have that focus and that consistency to be successful, because you don't want to be a woulda, coulda, shoulda person, you know, down the road. And you know, too many people had that regret. So
thank you so much for saying that, Aaron. As I know, when we get ready to close out, that to me is near and dear to my heart, because when you have loved ones that transition, or any of us, we know people that are no longer here with us, the last thing on their deathbed, they're not thinking about work. What are they thinking about? Is the impact they had with people. And when we think about impact and our success and our journey, it's up to us to be the difference in the game changers, trailblazers. You know, there are icons and idols, and, you know, there are heroes that we look up to. But here's the thing I would like to leave everybody: be your own hero. You know, sometimes we put these people that are stars, actors, actresses, musicians, artists in their respective places, because I know it's a pathway, it's a journey that gets them to those levels, to where they're at the Grammys, the awards, and we see them getting those notable achievements. But we could be our own hero. We don't have to have everyone else on a pedestal and we not be on that pedestal. Like, create the pedestal, stand on it, own it, because you've achieved success for yourselves. And what does that look like? However many houses sold, however many families now they live in quality, affordable housing. They have a home they can be proud of. Or you sold X amount, you know, and it changed and transformed this many people's lives. So success now can be defined on our terms, not on what everybody else says, because that's a rat race. And we've seen what happens with people that do achieve a measure of success, but they did it in a not so, it was very corrupt. And it was a lot of other things that came into play as they were becoming successful. But to have success with integrity, without compromising principles that you stand on, that's true success.
yeah, I love that. I love that. So I'll definitely get on the call with you, and we definitely want to talk. And my main man, Mr. International, loves it too. So
I see him smiling.
There's Walter Cronkite has a quote like that success, if you compromise your morals for success, that's not success. You're a failure. You're a failure because you compromise your morals, you compromised your spiritual principles to get to where you want to go. Mm-hmm. That's not success.
Yeah. It is not. And the thing about the one thing that we know that we can take away from this is we are not a failure unless we quit on our own selves. You know, none of us are a failure unless we quit on ourselves and our own dreams. And the thing of it is we, as John Maxwell said, when I went through his training, it's like he has this quote about failing forward. Mm-hmm. Like, as long as you get back up again, as long as you start next week with, okay, this is what I'm going to do next week. Even if I do one thing off of that list, you know, we thinking it's got to be this gigantic list of things that we have to accomplish. But what about, let's start and drill it back down to 1 to 3. 3 to 5, 5 to 7. If I achieve 3 things off of the checklist or 4 things off of the checklist, I now can see incremental progress without having this gigantic list before me, which kind of also can be counterproductive, because then now yes, we're measuring ourselves against something, but then at the same time, we take what we're measuring ourselves against, and then we begin to berate or demean ourselves. And that's counterintuitive, because it's not healthy for us as leaders and business owners.
You know what this quote goes, the tongue kills more people than a gun. And it's what you say to yourself and talk to yourself about, and to others. You kill other people too by talking down about them. You can't do this, but you can kill yourself by saying what you can and cannot do. And what you said, like you said, you can. Listen, if you keep on saying, I can't do this, you're gonna be left away. You're gonna be like, I can't do that, right? And when you said choices, that's what choices, the name of the game is choices. You can choose to stay down, you can choose to get up. The choices are yours. But I like what David Goggins says, my favorite quote is, it's you against you. It's all between the 6 inches between your ears. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you won't.
And there's a quote, because one of the classes I taught on resiliency has that quote in it about whatever you think you can do, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Because what we talk about with self-leadership, and there's a couple of classes that we have on my website, but one of the things is talking about those negative narratives. And I don't want to belabor this, but the negative narratives are what will derail us and stop us. So sometimes it's not what other people are saying, because the truth is we believe what we say about ourselves more so than what other people say about us. And so when we can silence or dial down those negative narratives and start having positive conversations, positive self-talk, we got to recognize the cues, recognize the triggers, but what are those narratives that continues to play in our head when the TV isn't on, the radio isn't on, and it's all quiet? So when it's all quiet, that is when we recognize who's saying what to us. Did it come from outside of us, or did it come from within? And when we can manage better or eliminate or reduce those negative conversations that we have with ourselves, we can then get up, rise up, and move forward.
Can I say this? Boom.
Yes. Drop the mic, right?
Drop the mic.
Mic drop.
Okay,
well,
y'all. You can never belabor the point, because belaboring the point of self-improvement, that's what people do. I don't talk about the study talk. You can never belabor that point. If you self-improvement, you see that what says behind me, your level of success will suddenly exceed your level of development, because success is something to track by the person you become.
You're exactly right. And I am a champion for self-development, hence a leadership development company centered around people work on yourself personally, so that when you show up professionally, you show up emotionally mature and ready for the opportunity. I have a girlfriend, and she is famous for saying, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's her quote. And I borrowed it. It's her quote. So I'll, definitely give her good kudos for it. But the thing is, if you are ready for these opportunities when they come, you don't have to get ready, because you've taken the time, like investing in a property, you've taken the time to invest in the greatest asset you'll ever have is yourself. And so we say the greatest asset to a company is people. Well, then invest in your people. And so we as business owners and leaders, real estate, in the real estate industry, whichever industry you're on while you're on here or listening, is invest, take some time out, set aside some money, nominal amounts. There's so many different coaches. I'm a coach. There are different industry leaders, coaches, mentors, sponsors, to invest in your personal development, because it's going to show up in your professional development when you're having these different engagements, meeting with these different stakeholders and clients. It's going to show up that you've been working on yourself.
Okay. I'm just looking at the website right now. Yeah,
Oh, you're on my website. Thank you.
yeah, I'm on your website right now. So we're gonna put a conversation. I'm looking right now.
Oh,
So
sure
Melody,
do.
Melody, I put in the chat. I don't know. I know you're from DC, correct? Maryland.
I'm not from DC, but I live in Virginia. My husband and I live over in Stafford, Virginia,
Okay.
next to Quantico.
Okay. So I put the chat in here. I'm having a mastermind dinner, which Aaron coined at the beginning, right? But I'm having a mastermind dinner in DC, September 24th. It's at the top of the chat. So there's a link for tickets. Anybody there, anybody in the DC, Baltimore area, please take a look at it. Adventures, come on out.
Okay, great. You're coming right after I finish the Capital Coaches. I'm going to the coaching conference that week.
Where's that
It's over in Bethesda. It's a
Okay.
coaching conference. Mhm.
Okay, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But thank you so much. I did save the chat, by the way. I appreciate you, Aaron, for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you,
so much
Aaron.
for
Thanks,
coming.
Thank you,
Melanie. And
Melody, and thank you, Aaron.
definitely talk.
We'll talk. Thank you both. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Aaron, you need me to stay on?
Yeah, for 1 minute, 1 minute. So I'm going to say thank you to Melanie once again. And we'll be here next week. Our next week guest speaker, in this whole month, our women guest speaker is Tamara Jones, TJ. So she'll be our guest speaker next week, and we will have a good time. She's my first ever repeat guest. So, and then after that, there's a number of repeat guests, and that'll be who was on her earlier, Miss Nicole Pendergrass. So we will see you guys next week. God bless you.